Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host.
Heather Baker.
Yes, I think we have a little latency going on there. That's okay.
Sorry.
And we are here with the Swallows. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys have a new album coming out on March 19th. And I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited to talk about your videos. I love the video, love the concept, love everything. But first, I want to give everyone a chance to kind of introduce yourself. And because it's Zoom, me looking at you, give my teacher look is not going to help. So I'll just introduce each of you and just let us know a little bit about you and how you get involved with the band. And Jeff Crandall, maybe I'll start with you.
Okay. Jeff Crandall. I started the band several years ago, 2008, though Aaron and I worked together a lot longer than that. So we were in a band before this, Thinland. And then we go back to the 90s together, so the late 90s. And so we started the band. Mike came into the band probably shortly after that. Tyson started filling in and then became a member back. I don't know, Tyson, when was that? 2008 or something?
Yeah.
So
it was 08, 09.
And then Brett came in a little later, around 2014 maybe?
Yeah, probably 13.
2013?
Yeah.
And one person who's not on the call is Justin DeLeon, our drummer. And he's been having some medical issues, so he's not going to be able to make the show with us, unfortunately. So we're sad about that. But Aaron's son Jackson is going to fill in on drums for us for the release show. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, I hope that he's all right. We wish him well, obviously. So. And Jeff, you do lead vocals.
Oh, yeah. I suppose I should say that. Yeah. So lead vocals. Songwriting, I play guitar and some piano, and in the studio, this, that, and the other thing, whatever's kind of needed to fill in the gaps. On stage, usually acoustic guitar and either piano for some songs.
Nice. I'm going to try to go by the people that you mentioned in order now. I know Aaron Kerr, you were next. Let's hear a little bit about you.
Thanks. I'm Aaron Kerr, and I have been playing with Jeff for 20 years. And this band has been, as Jeff said, through several iterations, a lot of different members, and working as Swallows since 2008, I believe, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah, sounds right. And have had as Swallows several albums and an EP, or 2 albums, I should say.
Well, we have three albums and an EP.
I'm sorry, that's right. 3 albums, including this one. 3 albums and an EP. I am a cello player, and I also play bass on the album as well. And I have written 3 songs that are on this album. There was 1 song on the previous album that I did as well. And it has been just a real journey, working on all of this music over time with Jeff, and we have had a really awesome collaboration that we've done, and I have spent a lot of time with Jeff in the studio, like a lot of time.
But not too much, right?
There's more to that. Yeah,
most
I know.
of my life. Sometimes it feels like most of my life has been spent in the studio with Jeff. No, we've done a lot of recording together, and we work. We're also in a couple other projects and groups together. So we've done a lot of just playing in general together, and also with the other guys in the band. I'm also in a couple other projects.
So Aaron leads a band called Aaron Kerr's Dissonant Creatures that he didn't mention yet, and so most of us play in that band, or have if they're not currently in. I think everybody's played in it.
Yeah.
And then we also put an album out in 2017 think it was, yeah. For Jay Brioso, Deep in the Waves was the name of that one. And that was the same band. It was just a real different take on the music. So we opted for a different identity to present with the music, because it really didn't match what we do with Swallows.
Kind of a side project to Swallows. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I do in the band, and that's my history with it.
Nice. Thanks, Aaron. Mike Norby.
Hi, yeah. I joined the band back, like Jeff was saying, about 2010. I remember the first. I got to know Jeff actually in our other lives in at work, and we got because we recognized a mutual kind of music interest, obviously with Jeff being a recording artist and me being a very I had a little bit of background playing instruments, but not much. But I was mostly a music listener all my life, so we got to know each other, and at some point, I think we just were talking about, hey, let's get together, let's jam on some guitars and stuff, and we had a couple of cocktails and worked out a couple of songs, and I think the next week I was practicing with Aaron and Jeff, and then and then after that, then we started bringing in Tyson and all the other people. So my role just kind of grew like that, and like a month later, I'm on TV in St. Cloud. And
that was true.
Yeah.
And I handed him a mandolin at that practice, and he started playing that mandolin, and he had never played it before. So that was
wow.
But I believe his words were what kind of noise can you make with this? So that really sums up what I've tried to do in Swallows. I play mandolin and a little bit of keys, as well as lots of percussion.
Mike was known for playing a garbage can with a swallow on it, and
sandpaper,
a big pipe. Yeah. For playing the pipe, he plays the pipe on a few songs. A big old metal pipe. Whatever. Yeah.
What's great about Mike is he's more than willing to just pick up anything that we throw at him and learn it. So he's been really, really cool that way, to just be the guy who will just pick up an instrument and start playing. So we love having him in all of our groups.
Now I'll be playing some piano actually at this show, so that's good.
Awesome. Yeah, mandolin seems like a strange one to just get tossed and pick up. That's awesome.
Yeah, it actually translated okay because I played a little bit of guitar and so forth before, and so I knew what I was kind of doing. But I picked up the mandolin, and once I kind of figured out how it was tuned, which is kind of like the first thing you should learn when you pick up a new instrument, then I was able to translate kind of what I knew and develop some kind of actually fairly unique style. So, yeah.
Nice. Tyson Allison, you're next contestant.
All right. The price is right.
Yeah.
I'm Tyson. I joined up in 08, 09. I actually started on drums for Swallows, and then we got Justin in later to replace me. I moved from Minneapolis to Milwaukee in later 09, and but still stayed connected to the band. And these guys are all my friends and collaborators. Me and Aaron have actually played together since like 03, something like that, in a different band that I was fronting at the time. And I just didn't want to stop playing with these guys, and so I kind of became I call myself a utility man in Swallows, where I can play guitar, I can do percussion, sometimes I've done bass, sometimes I've done some organ and piano and stuff like that. So I just really like what these guys do, and I come up to Minnesota fairly regularly, and I just do what I can. Jeff's really good about sending like progress mixes of new things that he's working on, and if I get an idea, at some point I can throw it down later and see what everybody thinks. So so that's kind of how I got started. And I've known Jeff quite a while now. We're probably
Yeah.
coming up on 15 years, maybe something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And Brett too. Brett and I were in like 2 different bands, but we played a lot of the same shows together.
Well, remember
Yeah.
you were in Arizona for like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I'm in the Jay Briozo thing as well, and
Yep.
and after I moved to Milwaukee, I kind of started up a record label, and so I kind of do that as well. And now I've got the honor and privilege of putting this new Swallows record out. So really excited.
Thank you so much, Tyson.
Nice.
Thank you guys.
This is
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Amazing.
Oh.
guy. And he
Yeah,
I'll even say thank you.
He knows everyone. Tyson knows everyone in Milwaukee, like every single person.
Nice.
He sets up amazing shows for us. So we go play in Milwaukee, and it's like
Yeah.
he gets the best
True.
bands, he gets the best musicians. He is in contact with everyone. He is a amazing force, a powerful force in the city of Milwaukee.
Nice.
He has great house shows at his
Great
house too.
shows, amazing house shows.
It's a cool venue there.
Thanks, you guys. I love
Yeah.
it when you guys come down. So
Yeah, I miss that. That's pandemic. Jeez.
I know. Yeah.
Come on,
I know.
let's get done with this.
I'm going to build a recording studio in Tyson's basement coming up here pretty quick. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's your ticket right there.
That's
And
right.
you can. I'm going to remember that. The sister in Chicago, and sometimes I can't make all the drive all in one day. You
There
need
you
an
go.
excuse to stop in Milwaukee.
Stop in Milwaukee and come to a house show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there you go.
We can totally do that. And we have like 17 couches here. So
Perfect.
Very comfortable.
Including some of my old couches, I think.
right. That is true.
That does sound like Milwaukee to me. Perfect. All right. Brett Hansen.
You guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Brett. I'm new this, probably Jeff said 2013 or 14. I had moved down to Phoenix for a couple of years, and I had kept in contact with Justin. He was kind of my the guy that I knew who would do in Tyson.
Hey, Brett, you are cut in and out a little bit. If you want to talk a little
Is that
louder.
better?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, in around 2013 or 14, these guys were going to start recording this album, if you can believe that. I did the original tracks I did on this like way back.
Probably 2014, right?
And I don't know if you've ever told them the misadventures at the studio, or told them that or anything about the lightning strike, and that's why we took an extended break from recording this album to do the
Yeah, this has been a long odyssey. This album, and we definitely we had a couple of things where we thought we lost it. And that lightning strike was one of them. For I don't know how long that one was, but the other time was when all the backup drive and the backup to the backup drive both quit and didn't work, and we're like, where is it? Do we have the album? We thought we had it like saved in a third place, and we didn't. We thought we were getting it backed up to the cloud, and it wasn't. So we had it in an enclosure, like a RAID setup with 2 drives, and the whole thing failed. So it had to be sent back to the company. And this isn't like we're almost 3/4 way through mixing
Oh no.
after years of work on it. And that was, I sweated it out for a couple of weeks there for sure. But they were able to retrieve all the data and get us a new drive, and
then we ended
backed it up to the cloud. So yeah, that was a rough period. Yeah.
So you had to literally send it off to.
Yeah, back to the manufacturer of the and this was a very expensive setup too. I mean, it's like almost $1,000 to get that whole drive. So it's a pro setup, but we just hadn't, well, whatever what happened with the cloud thing. It's just we were it was off we wanted to copy off premises, but we hadn't had that set up yet because we just got the drive and things just got transferred over there. So that hadn't happened yet. It's a lot. It took a long time actually to back it all up because there's a lot of information on it.
That's why you preach redundancy.
Yeah.
But I said, I work in the tech field. You can do everything perfectly, and then it,
I know.
it is. And then
Right.
some people are sloppy as all get out, and nothing ever happens. It's just.
I know.
It's life. So awesome. I'm going to start by saying, tell us about the album for people who are listening and haven't heard it yet, because this isn't coming out until next week. It's a concept album. I think it's amazing. Tell us about it, and then I want to know how you came up with it.
Well, I guess I'll start. We were all at practice. We at the beginning, outside of the band, we decided to write most of what we were doing around some themes. And so the album before this, we were doing, we called it Covert Transmissions to the Elementals. It wound up being Witching and Divining in the end. But the concept was writing about the four elements and sort of having subterranean meanings about, that were underneath the surface of the writing. And so that's what kind of spawned that album. And there was many other songs too. We had a ton of songs for that album. So we finished that whole thing up, and we were sitting in the practice room at where Aaron is right now, and that's our practice space, generally.
Nice.
So, yep, there you go.
Nice.
And
Nice.
just trying to figure out what we were going to do for the next album, and I think it was Mike's, said, well, why don't we do a ghost story? And then we just started kind of riffing back and forth on that idea. And just thought, well, let's make a Victorian ghost story because it was, kind of the best era for that kind of stuff. And then, the whole Jack the Ripper bit didn't really come in till later. I think I was the one who wanted to involve a murder or something, to add some murder mystery element to it. And I started researching old murders because I thought, well, it'd be better if there was something that we were really kind of basing this on. And I was actually trying to avoid the Jack the Ripper stuff, but it's kind of hard to do. I wasn't finding a lot of stuff outside of that other than, this kind of series of murders plus the ones that were sort of in and around Jack the Ripper that people think maybe he did, maybe, some people do, some people don't, they're not sure. And so this was one of them. And the thing that really made me want to go for the Frances Coles murder was the fact that she was murdered in Swallow Gardens. I mean, when I read that, I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. We're doing that, and it's by a pub, and it was just enough color, and there was enough information about the whole subject that I thought, well, this is kind of a rich thing to get into. And then I started just researching the heck out of all the locations and what was where at the time, where did this actually happen, not really wanting to get a lot of these details wrong because there's a lot of people, once you start to get into this territory, who are really all over it, right? So I wanted to figure out, like, okay, what was this, was this pub that I found in one place, really there? So I had to triangulate on a lot of this information to see if I could find multiple sources and who's who and everything. So yeah, that's where the pub comes in, and that's where the title of the album comes in. Is the pub that was across the way. It was probably 100 to 200 yards away. Is Crown and Seven Stars. And so the idea is that a guy who is in the pub who's outside now is the one witness to the murder. And there were a lot of people around the area, but nobody saw it directly, and so there's no record of anyone seeing it directly. So we add this fictional character into the real story that actually witnessed but didn't intervene and didn't decide not to tell anybody about it and go to the police or anything. So then he has this weighing on his conscience that he didn't save this woman when he had an opportunity to do it, and he froze, and then he basically chickened out and left the scene. So that's the sort of impetus and for the whole story from my end. But we have three writers. Mike wrote a song, and then Aaron wrote 3 songs, for it. Aaron actually wrote another one that didn't get on the album, but they didn't necessarily know all that. I was doing all that when they were writing these songs, so we had to kind of work that out as we went. Like, what is our story? So
Yeah.
they can talk about their contributions and sort of where they were with that. That's sort of where I was with it as we started to write these songs.
Yeah, and along the around the same time that the ghost story idea kind of popped up in our conversations that Jeff mentioned. Um, Jeff was also talking about. I remember talking to about really what kind of a sound we would kind of go and look to for inspiration as well. And I remember Jeff had the idea of a clockwork kind of
Yeah.
vibe, and so we instantly thought of different things, whether that's Big Ben clock and or steampunk or
Mm-hmm.
some of those other things. So we looked into some of that, and we took a lot of inspiration from sound sources from that, and also some of the the subculture kind of elements as well to that.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and so the clockwork thing, we were playing with. I don't know. I guess I sort of describe them as steampunk band. We play in shows. Elephant and his Traveling Circus. They have a little bit of a the whole circus thing, a little bit of a Tom Waits thing, but also a little steampunk thing at the time. And so it was in and around us. That kind of stuff was happening, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do like what would our version of that sort of thing be, you know. Um, so yeah, a little more theatrical than we had been in the past for sure. We decided to go, and so we had theater references in it, and we didn't want to just go like we're going to do period music and go we're just going to do Victorian music, but we also want to have stuff that would feel kind of right for that at the same time while we're doing rock and introducing more modern elements to it. So it's kind of layered in that way. And there's definitely like a film noir thing, and I went for that with the cover as well. And Mike's song in particular has that whole vibe to it. It has all the reverb guitars and things you might have seen in the maybe late 50s, early 60s too in his song. But it just has that feel about it, like it could belong in a noir film. So Aaron, what about you?
Well, I'll first of all say that when Jeff says he did some research into Jack the Ripper, he basically solved the case. he would send stuff out like, hey, here's some more information. And it was just like he just went in deep, and he got all this really really great information about Jack the Ripper. He was even like sending me like maps of London and stuff, and it was and so that was a fun adventure that we kind of went on, just to get all that figured out. After we did figure out it was going to be about Jack the Ripper, then we're like, well, now what? Or at least it was going to have Jack the Ripper in it. And then we came up with this idea of this protagonist who saw the murder. And then we're like, well, what does the protagonist do now? And so we started just like coming up with all these crazy ideas. And Jeff came up, he kind of found some information about maybe Jack the Ripper went to America. So that's where I kind of stepped in and went, okay, well, what does this guy do? Why is he running away? And what's he doing in America? So we kind of collaboratively came up with the idea. He's being chased by the ghost of Francis Coles, and he goes to America to try and escape. I wrote a seance piece called "Bring Your Dead Back Home," and I think, Jeff, did you find someone in Boston who did seances?
Yeah.
So the idea is that first he's in Boston, he goes to a seance in Boston and does that, and then we had the idea that he goes out west, and Jeff wrote this really cool song called 10 Miles Down. It's about someone getting lost in the wilderness. And then I had the idea that he was found by the Sioux tribe and witnessed the Sundance, and so I wrote a song called Smoke a Sage. And then my vision for him after that was that he ended up in Colorado Springs and got electrocuted by Nikolai Tesla, because Nikolai Tesla was doing experiments at that time in Colorado Springs with the electromagnetic stuff. That song ended up on the cutting room floor. We didn't use that one, but the last song of the album, yeah.
I have to say, thank God, because I was like, I did not get that.
Yeah, no, that
No, yeah.
yeah, it was a close call, but we just couldn't fit it in, and then
It actually didn't fit the time frame, Aaron, in the end.
yeah, I know.
Or we had this all had to take place in 1891, so it was just off
It was just off
from that.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't have happened in there. So
Yeah. Yeah, we have to have some credibility. Mostly, we're not a very credible band, but we should have some credibility. No, but and then in the end, my idea is that he makes it to the West Coast, and I won't say what happens. I'll let people hear the album.
Yeah, Aaron has the final song in the album. It's a real beautiful ballad.
I'm not going to say what happens, but I'm just going to let people listen to it on the album and figure it out. And so we went on this really long journey with this, starting in Victorian London and ending up on the West Coast of America. And it was a really fun adventure, coming up with the story, Jeff doing all the research about Jack the Ripper, and us trying to figure out a way to put this all together. But what these guys are saying about it being a very theatrical album, it became a theatrical album beyond my wildest dreams. Like it became so encompassing of so many different styles of music and so many different genres. But I hope, anyway, in a very inclusive way, in a way that kind of, I don't know how you guys felt about it when you listened to the songs, but to me, I thought that Jeff, I'm gonna give Jeff the credit for this, for putting all this together in a very cohesive way and making it a really amazing album.
We've been trying to do that, and I think that we kept the tone together, so it didn't all kind of splinter, even though we were approaching each song from a different angle.
Yeah,
and it's different genres.
That's a really, really hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to take all these different genres, put it together, create an elaborate theme around it, but at the same time have it all kind of fit together as a comprehensive whole. That's a really, really hard thing to do. So we really struggled with that. But I think Jeff's happy. If Jeff's happy, then I feel like I've accomplished something, because he's almost never.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's my 2 cents about the album.
Well, I have to say, it's especially this time of year with St. Patrick's Day next week. I love the rock opera part, kind of element to this, but James Joyce's Ulysses, and I was just, because it's St. Patrick's Day in the air, I was looking at Ulysses, which is his big tome, and it happens one day in Dublin, June 16th, but every chapter is written in a different format, and every chapter comes from a different direction, and every chapter is researched to the nth degree. So, and people call him genius. I'm just saying, and it wasn't even musical. You guys are way beyond.
Joyce, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, but
that Ulysses is crazy. It's awesome, but it's crazy. It's getting inside that book.
Did he write Portrait of the Artist as a young
Yep.
man?
Yeah, that's much more accessible. Yeah.
Barely made it through that one, so I never touched Ulysses.
Don't even pick up Finnegan's Wake. It'll drive you mad.
Here's my sadness is I was looking for Ulysses, and what I found was Finnegan's Wake in my bookcase. And I was like, oh, darn it. But you guys tie it together in the same kind of way, because there's such a strong story. And even if it's a story that, even the second time you read Ulysses, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day for Stephen Douglas or for,
we really intentionally didn't want to tell the story in the songs. We thought that'd be a little heavy-handed and kind of boring. What we wanted to do was provide the sort of cinematic music that would go along with that point in the story. So we were trying to give scenes from a story to be filled in later, which I'm still filling in. I'm actually starting to try to write the chapters of this thing. as I mean, I'm kind of busy right now with the release and everything, but right before we started this, I was starting to write a few of the chapters. I put them up on the site thinking I'll start, trying to fill this in at least, like a story, part of the story for each song. I do have a little bit for each song, sort of what it's all about, and really, I took the story because I know we needed to make this coherent. Like I said, we were sort of writing parallel, but not necessarily understanding the full picture as we wrote. So then, sort of after the fact, I'm looking at this, going, okay, this is why this is happening. This is how this is happening, and it started to then go into, okay, here's the sort of the historical backdrop for it. Like, I wanted to find things that were happening that would make that make sense. And in all of them, I thought there was a way to do that, for why that point got brought in. And so, like Aaron said, like with the seance one, it was Leonora Piper was this trance medium that was very famous at the time. And so it's like, all right, we're going to put this one in Boston, and this is going to be at her house. And then, she has one of her, there's like a interpreter, like a spirit medium. I don't know what the word is. A spirit guide, I guess, is the word for it. And her name was Turpentine, and she was Native American. I'm like, okay, this is going to be how the whole transition over to Smoke of Sage, which is Aaron's song about going out to the Sioux country. And say, okay, how did this actually transpire? Okay, so this guy is basically being driven by some demons he picks up at the seance, and so on. Not demons, just the dead that he picks up. They want to be taken home. For him, he sees everything as, being possessed. He's not happy about any of this, So for him, it's not a positive thing. So that's why that word. But so he's being chased and haunted this whole experience. At the same time, he's starting to wonder why does he know? Did he really witness this crime, or did he commit this crime? So he's starting to wonder if he himself is the actual murderer. And so he's going through all of that. And so that's all the turmoil you see in a song like Watertight and in Grace.
Grace.
So that's sort of the kind of some of the twists that I'm putting into it, making it more of a psychological thing where he starts to have this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thoughts about himself, where he's got another side to him. And then he begins to wonder if he is in fact Jack the Ripper. So that's all going on in his head as he's being haunted, possessed, and that this ghost wants him to, avenge her death. So he's made that pact with her in the song Ultraviolet. So he's made a pact with her out of guilt, and because she's sitting there haunting him, that he will avenge her death.
He go to
So
America to chase Jack.
That's the idea, is that he's gone to America to find Jack the Ripper, and to free himself of all this, because that's the only way he sees this is the only way out of it. Now that she has him in her sights.
It's so fascinating. Like, and then what happened? And then what happened? Oh my God! And I will also say Ultraviolet. That's the first video that came out.
Yep. Well, we did do a little promo for Wrecking Ball, 1 minute thing, but the first full length one that you guys, thank you so much for premiering that for us and for having us here today. Thank you.
Oh yeah, there's a driving, addictive sound to that song.
Yeah, it's got
There's
that
something,
pulse.
there's something delightfully insidious, I'll say, about the whole album that gets into your brain. It's when I used to, I lived in London for years. When I used to travel with my kids, my favorite thing to do was something creepy and cool, which usually meant kids were going to have nightmares, but it was cool. And there's something creepy and cool about this album. And the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, ooh, creepier and cooler than I thought. It's just,
Oh yeah, we wanted to make it colorful. We didn't want it to make it just dark. We wanted to make it kind of sumptuously dark and creepy. And fun. We sort of had a graphic novel kind of approach in mind when we were thinking about it. Like, this is like a Sonic graphic novel kind of thing. Let's make it fun. and also reference fun music. And so that's where the kind of the hooks come in. You know, we have some, you know, we have a song, Dead and Gone, kind of is a little Rolling Stones kind of
Very
reference.
bluesy. I like
Yeah.
that. You know, especially the beginning of that song. I think it's very, yeah, bluesy. Just I like how you've brought in all the different genre. You know, yeah, Wrecking Ball's a little more rockin'. Just you
Yeah, I
know,
went little glam elements in that one too, I think, you know, as I hear it. And then just kind of the theater piece, you know, with the verses going into sort of kind of a glam rock. So at least that's what I was thinking. The first version of that was like a Ballroom Blitz or something. It was like a sweet
nice.
song. And then I don't know why. I don't know. We had like a bunch of sort of takes on that one before that finally came into place. Mike knows. Mike's smiling because he heard most of this stuff more than others, even I think, because I was showing it to him in the basement here.
The funny thing is we're talking about all these influences, and you talk about the variety and styles, and the reason why I think we enjoy playing together is because all of that is in our DNA as a band, and from influences to, yeah, I mean we are fans of just a ridiculous amount of genres, and we pull all of it when we compose for these projects. And that's part of the reason why in my theory anyway, is that's part of the reason why we respond so well to be given these prompts, or to accept these prompts, you know, and challenges of songwriting or composition, or what have you. You know, hey, let's make a ghost story. That really frames, you know, we can start pulling in nuggets of our influences, you know, from that.
Yeah. It helps to have a couple of ringers in the band, Brett and Aaron, who
Yes.
can, you know, really pull stuff off, you know. And so if we're going to throw some of this rock stuff, you know, Brett's just going to pick it right up. Aaron can help out with any of the kind of compositional aspects and arranging, not to mention being, you know, a great cellist. I mean, and also bass player. He did great on this album, Aaron. But that driving beat is, you know, that for Ultraviolet you were talking about. That's that kind of. Justin has I don't know the best way to describe it. Some people call it tribal. I mean, it's a lot of use of toms and stuff. He has a really interesting approach to drums, and so that, you know, he's not here to talk about it, but he definitely on Ultraviolet, that basis for that was me and Justin just went into the studio, and I was like, okay, remember that one time in practice? No. Well, it went like this, you know, and then we played that song a few times together to get that basic pulse down, and that was the sort of foundation of that particular song, which we constructed entirely in the studio. I don't think the band played it as a song until after most of it was done, when we started doing some gigs, you know, and everybody. I don't think anyone really knew where it was going. I think I was pretty much the only one who had any confidence that it was going anywhere. Aaron, you didn't think it was going anywhere, did you?
No, I thought it sucked too. First few times I was like, nah. Now let's put this in the pile, Jeff. Let's just take this one here, put it in the folder, put it in the pile,
yep.
And then let's work on something else. But Jeff, as is usual with Jeff, you don't understand his vision until you get to the end of the project, and then he's like, no, wait, just keep going. I've got more ideas. We're gonna put this together, and then after you put it all together, you're like, I see what you're doing now. But that's very much Jeff's MO. Like that tends to be the way he likes to write music, and the way, and he always is throwing new stuff at us, even right before a show. He'll like be like, remember, just like he said, remember this thing we did like 3 months ago, like in practice once? We're gonna do it tonight at the show. So Jeff does a lot of that kind of thing too.
Sorry.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good because it challenges you as a musician. You know, like it really forces all of us to be very focused and to really just pay attention to what we're doing and just not dial it in. So So Jeff's good at like surprising us with stuff like that. I'll also say we're talking about the recording aspect of this, but the performing aspect of this has also been a really interesting adventure for us. These songs are all very different, and so we have to approach every song when we prepare it for performing. We've had to approach every song a little differently, and that's been interesting too. And some of the songs are just really weird to play. They're just really weird songs to play. I don't know if you remember Watertight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took us a really long time to figure that one out, how to play that and how to make it sound just right for the live performance.
There's a lot of abrupt changes in that song.
It's got these weird tempo changes and these weird crazy stylistic things. It's kind of like a sea shanty. It's like a punk sea shanty. You know, that is kind of like parts of it are kind of like you're playing like a folky sea shanty, and then the next section it kind of ramps up and gets kind of punky, and there's like a weird solo in there that Brett threw in that was like, or maybe Jeff, you wrote that first, but it's got the weird chromaticism, intricacy going on.
Very spiky, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the parts are really complex. So
I remember the direction being something along the lines of, you know what to play in that spot, do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you're about to play, don't play that.
I always take notes. My note on that one, you know the band Porcupine? That's what I've written here.
Okay.
Porcupine.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I had like a little bit of Primus in my head, and maybe there's a guitarist that plays with Tom Waits too that throws down some of those kind of lines, those crazy kind of chromatic lines they sound almost like in the wrong key for the song sometimes, but somehow it's just right, you know, the right thing to do.
Now, have you been able to play the album together? I mean, when did the album come about? I keep thinking it came about, in the last year but when did? This has been a long time in the making.
Yeah. So we started it. We wrote most of the songs in 2013 and 2014.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's on the heels of our last album, with the intention that we were just going to go right in the studio and record all this. We wound up recording some of the piano songs first. We went out to IPR here in Minneapolis and used their grand piano, and we started to track those. And then I thought there were issues with the pulse, so went and retracked those. And this was sort of the early history of it. It was like starting and doing over. And then we were working in a studio that was quite a ways out of town, out in Corcoran. A family had their kid was a student of Justin, our drummer at IPR, and so he was getting into engineering and stuff. So they built a studio out in their pole barn with a couple of the students.
Wow.
And we took a risk because we normally record at a studio up in Forest Lake, Gilder Sound, and we decided we just wanted to switch it up just to get a little bit of a change of, especially for the drums, just a different room for the drums and so on, just for this particular album. We love recording up at Gilder Sound too, but we just wanted a different kind of rock sound for this. We thought that would work, so we supplemented with our own equipment. They had a lot of great equipment, and then we a little bit of IPR stuff too, and tracked it. In the beginning out there, we wound up back at Gilder Sound to mix and to do the final tracking. We still had some parts left to do, and by that time it had been a couple years into this, and Steve Murray, who was the original engineer on it, was moving into other things. He started doing sound for the Vikings games and the Twins, and now he's moved out to do stuff for what teams is it? Did Oakland move to, or did the Raiders move or something to Las Vegas? Anyway, he's doing sound out there. So we wound up going back. We had to switch studios in the middle of it and finish it up and mix it with Randy at Gilder Sound, which was great because that was familiar territory, it's closer and stuff. So it was like really hard, to just get, for the timing's sake and everything. It was just a lot of delays, and it was like hard to get out there. I could only work out there on the weekends because it was far enough out from where I am. I'm out in Woodbury, so you know, it's quite a distance to get out there for like an evening session or something.
Right.
So yeah, it was kind of like one of those things. We made some decisions that made this all go a lot longer, and then we made other decisions like let's record another album. That was my fault. I started writing a bunch. In the middle of it all, it was taking so long, you know, and this had become more of a democratic, like full band project than some of the other ones. Like some of the other ones, I mean, it's always been a full band thing, but you know, some of the other ones I just kind of led decision making, and this one, you know, even the studio choice, you know, was more like everything was up for debate with this album, and there was more writers on it. Now, you know, Aaron contributed more, Mike contributed, and so you know, there was just, I guess, you know, just a lot more back and forth. You know, everybody was going to have to accept this, that this was, you know, the best version of the song that we could get and all that. So a lot more intense. Each track, each part we laid down, a lot more intense, getting the right tone and everything. We really wanted to be able to make a record that sonically was going to be far beyond what we'd done before, and that, you know, you couldn't take a lot of pot shots at, you know, once it was done, that we did it well and recorded it right. So it took longer to do that, a lot longer.
As it does. It's, you're going to do something right. But have you been able to play it together, kind of
start to finish?
Start to finish.
All the songs, yeah.
Almost. There's a couple of songs that we still haven't put into the set. This show that we're going to do, we're, you know, playing with Aaron's son Jackson for the first time at the show. So we didn't want to necessarily do all the big rock numbers. So we're going to throw in some of the rockers, but we're definitely going to kind of pare it down in terms of variables, because I didn't want to like throw in other musicians that we hadn't really practiced with, that we're not, you know, as familiar playing with. Tony Tonetti, who did the great vocals, the female vocals on the album, who was once a member of the band, and when we initially started writing this, she was still in the band, and I wrote the songs for us to sing together. She agreed to do it for the album, and I think if we can do a proper show of the whole thing, like from start to finish, as a more theater thing, then we'll pull in the extra musicians and Tony to do that. But because we haven't really had a chance to really practice, and we're doing this like, you know, through Clean Feed or whatever that thing is called, you know, to try to just have some sense of, you know, getting refreshed on the songs. And we're actually doing a few new songs for this show too, from the album, the piano songs, which, you know, we play a lot of bars, you know, a lot of places where they're not pianos. So we have an opportunity to play with a really nice piano. And so we're going to do some of those songs this time too. So yeah, so we kind of tamed the set down a little bit. So Wrecking Ball won't be in the set. But
okay.
we are going to do Ultraviolet and Dead and Gone and some of the other rockers that we just didn't want to, like, we're playing in a church too. It's going to be kind of spacious, and I didn't want to create just a big racket that sounds terrible over, you know, streaming it. So
you know that song Wrecking Ball, the heavy one, and
yeah,
we played that at a punk bar in Chicago, like 8 years ago.
Nice.
Because we were working on the songs back then.
Yeah.
We started taking, just more of the rock songs. We started putting them into our set, and we ended up playing a punk show in Chicago, and they loved it. They were just so excited. Like all these punk bands thought that was so cool. So
that was a fun show.
We've been kind of like adding these songs to our set, but it's been really, really hard because we haven't had a full album until now, number one. And number two, we just haven't been able to be in a situation where we can play the rock songs along with the acoustic songs. You know,
it's hard to come up with that.
Like it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like play Wrecking Ball and Bring Your Dead Back Home, which is
right.
Creepy, like kind of ethereal thing. You know, so that's what we constantly deal with a lot of our albums, is because we do such a mix of styles, especially this album. It's going to be really, really hard to get in the right situation where we can do all this stuff. But
that's what, do like a theater or something.
We're going to do a theater. We'll do a relaunch of this. I think once this stupid pandemic's over, you know, we can all get out of our houses again. We'll rent a theater. We'll do a big show. We'll get everybody there. We'll get Tony on vocals. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great show. But next Friday is going to be great too. Just a little. We're just going to tweak things a little bit, you know. And I think when you're in a band, you kind of have to do that. A lot of situations, I mean, you got to keep in mind you're there to make sure you're putting on a good show.
Yeah.
You know, so that's first and foremost. And sometimes you have to change your vision to make that work. So that's what we're doing on next Friday.
Tell people the specifics about the show, the whens, the wheres for next week.
So it's next Friday, March 19th. It's live stream on YouTube, and we're playing from 7 to 9 Central Time, and you can get the link to it at swallowthemusic.com/shows, or just hit there's a shows button right on the main website there, and it's just right on that page. There's a link out to the YouTube feed, and that's just open to anyone. There's no cost or anything. We're just leaving that open. And Aaron maybe can talk about this a little bit, but Arts on La Fond is sponsoring it, and they're going to host the feed and do the filming and everything, and they provide the venue too.
I've done a couple shows with Arts on La Fond, great organization. They do all the shows out of Zion Lutheran Church, and they are now doing, of course, live stream shows, but in the past they have done some regular shows that I've played at. And they are a great organization and a really making that a cool place for art and music. So so I got Arts on La Fond.
And that's in St. Paul, by the way.
That's in St. Paul in the Midway neighborhood, near Ginkgo Coffee House.
Yep.
Okay.
Where Ginkgo Coffee House is.
I don't know why I haven't made that connection until now, because I'm 2 miles away from there.
Yeah.
It's just like a block and a half from there, right?
Yeah, well, a little further than that, maybe about 4 to 6 blocks, but it's not far from Ginkgo's. It's off Aldine and La Fond. Don't go there next Friday.
We'll just be there.
Post-pandemic, you should go there to see some shows. But don't go there. Go to our YouTube. But that's where they're at, and they're great. And so check out Arts on La Fond. They're great. I love the people who run that place. I really like those.
Awesome.
People.
I might just walk by. As I said, it's kind of in my hood. It's a little off my.
Yeah, you can stand outside. Maybe we'll crack the door open, and then you can. That would be cool. Maybe if people want to hang out, socially distance outside. Maybe.
Oh yeah, well you just give the word. I'll bring a chair for that. That's I'll bring. I'll bring some car wash tokens. I know the car wash right nearby there, so that's
okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Tyson.
That'll be fun. That'll be a fun show to see. That'll be.
It's a cool space. The acoustics are really good, and I should say I did a show there with these guys, except for Tyson, in December, where I had an album release that went really well. So. For my other band, Aaron Cruz Distant Creatures. So I know it's going to work. I know it's going to be a great show, and I know it's going to be a great live stream. And it was the sound was really good, and the video was really good. So,
okay.
And it's supposed to be even better this time because they got 2 new cameras. So that's cool.
We'll see.
Go ahead, Jeff. What were you going to say to Tyson?
I was going to tell. Tyson's coming out for the show. So we're very glad you're going to be here. And Tyson, I should probably tell you about backing vocals I want you to sing on.
Okay.
Remember those backing vocals we didn't practice that one time? You're going to do those at the show.
Jeff, I talked to Tyson last night, and he totally was freaking out about the backing vocals.
Was he? It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Specifically, it shouldn't be too overwhelming.
Yeah.
You don't have to sing like tight harmonies to all them. You don't have to memorize all the lyrics or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm getting
just
there.
Like Dead and Gone, and those words there, and Rejoice, helpful.
I'm getting there.
Like, on some things.
No, I'm perfecting my impersonation of Tony.
Oh, there you go. I know.
Oh.
Well, we need a ghost. So are you just gonna wear like a ghost outfit too, to be the ghost
Well,
with
we're gonna have
glasses
you
on all
That's
day?
floating
what it
over
takes.
us.
I'll do it.
Hey,
That's
so
what
we're
it
gonna
takes.
rig you up on a wire and have you floating above us.
There you go.
You didn't hear that?
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what's
this
gonna
is all new. It's all
Yeah.
new.
Now we have to see it.
It's a circus delay.
Thank you, Heather. That's exactly what we're going for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's well, it's.
I was gonna say, Jeff. Oh, sorry if I'm delaying, but I was gonna quick say, Jeff, you're reminding me of what they say Bob Dylan does and says, we do this song, whatever, now we're gonna change the chord as they're walking up on stage. I feel like you might
Yeah.
be doing that a little bit,
Well,
keeping them on their toes.
It's good. It does, and especially when we were playing a lot, that really, I wouldn't want to spring it on them because we haven't practiced, so much, but during the pandemic here. But when we were playing a lot, yeah, to throw things in just to get that that fresh experience again of having to think on your feet, and everybody would respond, well, most of the time. I mean, every once in a while, I'd have a train wreck, but that was usually my fault half the time, playing in the wrong time signature because we played songs in different time signatures sometimes, and then I get confused about which one we're doing. Start off the wrong way, and everybody's going the other way. But yeah, so it's I think it's good. I think it's good to do that when, especially when you have a set down, to not just repeat. And we do a lot of improvisation, and Aaron's really the key to that. He got us all into Semiconductor Orchestra at one point, which was a prior to the Aaron Kerr's Dissonant Creatures, which was this conducted improvisation. And so Aaron got us all involved with that. None of us were improv type players, and this kind of stretched us and made us go, okay, we can do that. Tyson and I, we kind of came from the same school of like, we're gonna figure out exactly what we do, because we didn't like grow up as musicians. We did other things and we picked it up a little bit later in life. And so I'm speaking for you, Tyson, but
That's true.
yeah. And so we were a little more self-conscious about things, and so that really helped to stretch us and realize, oh, we can do some of this stuff, and then it just kind of evolved from there and evolved into Swallows, where we have the song, but then the versions we play live often will go in wild directions, and we'll just let it go, and we'll just see what happens, and hopefully we will not fall off whatever thing that we got onto that was cool. And most of the time it works, and every once in a while you go, oh, that kind of sucked, but it pays off enough to where it's worth doing it, I think, and to every once in a while have one that doesn't quite live up to your expectations. That happens. What do you think about that, Brett? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just say, Brett joined the band later. What do you think about like that style, and all that? You seem pretty comfortable just walking right into all that.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that there was a bunch of great songs that I could just kind of play on top of,
Yeah.
That was kind of like the biggest no-brainer decision ever, really. It's like, hey, do you want to join the band and play on all my great songs? Like, yes.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, Brett really added a soloist element. Before that, well, Aaron, of course, but we were tying him up with bass more because his songs needed that. He's and because he started off initially when we played in Finland too. He was just primarily on cello. We had a bass player, but I don't know. Somewhere along the line, we just decided, we like this chemistry of who we have here, and we weren't sure we wanted to bring another bassist in and have that kind of clash. You have to work out between two low instruments with the cello and the bass. Although for a time we did have Tony in the band, and she was playing cello and doing backing vocals, but Aaron had moved over to bass more there, and now I've lost my train of thought.
Where did you go?
We talking about?
You went a weird place, Jeff.
No, I had a reason. Now I've forgotten it.
You forgot what you were saying all that. I love that I can give really weird music to this band and everyone goes okay. and I've done that. I've given them in this band and the other group of them. I've given them really weird stuff to play. Some of it is improvisatory, but I've really tortured these guys in a lot of ways. I have given them very hard written to play that is hard for some advanced classical players, and these guys have been very willing to learn these parts that I've given them. And I think some of that has gone over into Swallows now.
Yeah, it's cross training. That's what I think of it as.
Cross training them, like we're gonna do my hard stuff, and then we're gonna do a little bit of that in Swallows. Make Swallows, give Swallows that a little extra juice,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I remember my point, by the way.
What's your point?
My point was that Brett was able to step in and really fill in and do more, as a soloist. And Tyson and I, like I said, we'll do that. We'll step up and do that. And we had on prior albums, and we have to work against our own limitations and kind of figure out parts that are gonna be yeah, that's all I know. But it's that's cool, but it's actually all I know. Brett, it's he just goes, he can go anywhere. So that it's it's like Nels Cline joining Wilco or something. Suddenly you have this instrumentalist who can just take the songs wherever you point in a direction, and Brett can go there. So that's been really wonderful, and you see the fruits of that on the Jay Brioso album, and then on this album with Brett's parts on this album are just fantastic, and Tyson's too, by the way. Tyson early on, especially in the early part of the recording, jumped in and really did some really great outstanding parts on Wrecking Ball and Grace in particular that just really put those songs over the top. That that parts that you did on Grace, just to me that's the central piece of the song, and we're all kind of working around that really cool guitar part you did in that song. So that's very cool.
That is the unique thing about the album. As we've said, is each song is to itself, and it kind of gives everybody a time, every sound a time to shine. It makes it so interesting.
Oh yeah, so there's some that where the mandolins featured, and there's others where it's all the big guitars and the piano and different songs. And
honestly, I have some really great solos on this album that I'm really proud of, but some of the stuff I'm most proud of are just things that you don't even know are guitar.
Yeah, true.
And maybe it sounds in the background, and it sounds like you put it in a keyboard or something, but it adds this mood in spots that I don't know. It turned out really cool.
All that the lap steel that you did, is that stuff. I mean, we were doing crazy stuff with it, multiple amps and mics everywhere, and then that vocoder while Brett's playing. Yeah. So I'm singing in the mic, and it's actually, taking what I'm doing and blending it with what Brett's doing, and
cool.
That was super, super cool atmospherics and just unexpected cool stuff that when you're telling a ghost story, we had lots of landscapes and just think whispers and parts like that sort of to add to the effect of it.
It's a very evocative album. You go through a lot of moods and a lot of it, and it is sometimes those they're not really white spaces, but those spaces between that really make the noise poignant. And again, I don't mean noise, but sound. I am a
Yeah.
huge noise fan, so when I say noise, I mean it with love. But it's it's that the difference in it. The
Like
negative
Dynamics.
spaces are as important as the action.
Tried not to overarrange it, yeah, for that reason, to leave those spaces on purpose. Yeah.
that's one of the problems with a lot of pop music these days. It's all very static and it doesn't go anywhere. And so to counter that, you have to, especially if you're in the context of an album, you want to have a lot of high points and low points, and loud volumes and soft volumes, and harsh tones and beautiful tones, and you really have to kind of sculpt it to make it the whole album, so that you're not just listening to the same song over and over.
And yeah, rhythmic complexity too. I think is
Rhythmic
really
complexity,
important.
Yeah, very, very important. A lot of rhythm, not much rhythm. Yeah, so there's a lot of different parameters that you have to play with when you're writing music, when you're recording music, when you're composing music, when you're arranging music. And you have to keep all of those parameters in mind from the get-go, from the time that you're starting to write the song, to when you're practicing it, to when you're going into the studio and laying down the parts, and even to when you're mixing it and editing it. That's a very important part of the process. A lot of people forget about, and Jeff has done a little bit of mixing and editing. So.
Yeah.
Statement of the year.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say that. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Well, it inspires me even more to watch the show next Friday, because it's fun to see how it's done live, as well as when it's all from the studio. I'm looking forward to hearing that, because that's.
Yeah, you're gonna hear like an organic version of it that's just us playing much more, not exactly fully acoustically, but kind of like an acoustic version of the album.
Yeah.
Brett will still have electric guitar, and we'll still have drums, but most of the instruments that you'll hear will be more acoustic. I'll be on acoustic guitar and piano. Mike's going to be on mandolin and piano. Tyson, I have no idea. You're going to bring some melodica out and with your voice and some percussion.
He always plays a melodica.
Probably drag out my guitar too. So.
Okay. All right. You see, we're very planned here.
That's the beauty of having so many multi-instrumentalists. You can, you could have a spin the wheel and decide.
There's a lot of parts to cover for sure. Yeah, you can, and there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of parts to cover from the album. We could, it'd be very hard to really recreate the whole thing. Exactly like that without having a lot of pieces.
Right.
But I think we'll give a different version of the songs, and that's going to be a little bit more core to the songwriting of the album. So I think that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Fun to do.
Absolutely.
A little more intimate in that way. But we still really want to do the big rock show where we try to pull this whole thing off. Of course, that was the plan all along, right? Before the pandemic, and this just got so delayed. I just couldn't wait any longer, and I think we all kind of agreed. We got to get this. I don't want to call it albatross, because we really are proud of it. But it's like this thing. It's like we got to finish this, and we got to put it out. And we waited this whole year. I'm like, what's that, Brett?
The songs are like 6 years old at this point. It's not. Really...
I know. It's like, come on, man. This.
You got to get this baby born before the next one comes.
Yeah, because we finished mixing it last year. I mean, so we've sat on it this whole time. We finished it last December.
Nice.
So it's like it's time,
It's the perfect time.
Let's do it.
Perfect time.
It would be cool to get this up and running and be able to just do it like a tour or something, where you're like going from theater to theater, venue to venue, and being able to repeatedly play the album as a whole.
Yeah.
And when we've done that as a band, that's always been a really wonderful experience, because it's just every time that you play the show, it's like all of the music just starts coming together even more and more and more. So So
Mhm.
that would be a really, really cool thing to do. Be able to just like once this pandemic's over, just like book a bunch of shows and just go and play this wherever we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're ready for it. We're ready for it. Maybe you can play the videos in the background. Play a place like the Parkway.
Oh.
And
Yeah,
do the
there you go.
videos and do that. That would be that and a beer,
Yeah.
and I'm set for the night.
I'll make the rest of the videos for the
Yeah.
whole album. And
Which reminds me, you've got a video premiere tomorrow.
yep, the Spill magazine in Toronto is going to premiere Watertight, the video for Watertight tomorrow morning.
And tomorrow
think it's
being March,
just-
for people who are listening, March 12th. So if people are listening to this a week later, well,
Yeah,
so it came out on March
yeah.
12th, but it's the new video for Watertight. So that's awesome.
And then we have another one on Monday. So we're like kind of like a extravaganza, you know, like the fireworks going off before the album release. But we have another one for Bring Your Dad Back Home on Monday, and that's Americana Highways.
Awesome. Awesome.
Is
You've got
there-
our week filled. You've got our week filled tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we got a video, and Monday we got a video, and Friday we got a full show.
Yep,
So-
yep.
Awesome. For folks who are listening, remind me again where they can find you online.
Swallowthemusic.com. That as one word.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank
This
you
has
so
been
much.
fun. I have been looking forward to talking to you since I saw the video, since I heard the music, because it's just creepy but cool in the best way.
Well, that's what we always strive to be, creepy but cool.
Awesome.
That's kind of creepy is the cool kind.
That's why I don't have this song here.
I was gonna say, Brett's really rocking it. You have nailed it.
There's like an exercise bike behind me, and it's just not.
It's not too creepy.
That's kind of creepy.
This is. Woo.
That would be scary, yeah.
And
All right. Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so
guys.
much. Yeah. Have a good night.
You too.